Welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate that you're taking the time out of your busy day to be with us, like you have done before. That's a key part of our community, so really appreciate that. We got an amazing program for you today. We got some really cool things lined up. So first of all, we have some really cool product launches that I've been looking forward to show you for a long time. Secondly, we have some of our amazing customers. They're going to give you some insight to how they think and how they work with content. And last but not least, we have Matthew Lunn. Matthew has spent his life telling stories. Do you also love movies like Toy Story and Monsters, Inc.? That's Matthew. And today he's here with me, and he's going to share his secrets and insights with us. Can't wait. That's at the end, so stay put with us. But first, let's talk about content, let's talk about strategy, and let's talk about business. What really drives your business? What is really important for your success over the next couple of years? Strategy is often thought of as this big fancy thing that executives and board do. And yes, kind of is that. But at the same time, strategy is in what you do, in decisions you make, in the intentionality that you have as teams. If you don't know what drives your business, it's really hard to make it grow. One of the things that I love to do in my job is to meet with companies and understand what drives their business and how they think about their success. Recently, I met with a hotel company. They don't own any hotels. They view themselves as kind of a marketplace between the hotel guests and the hotel property owners. And this is a big famous brand. Of course, their job is to drive people into the hotels, but equally important is their communication with the hotel property owners and their teams. They have to make it efficient so that they can capture their concept and make it a good way to work for the hotel property owners. Otherwise, they could just take their hotels to the competitor next door. Content is important for making that relationship work. I also met with a fashion brand. This fashion brand is really successful, growing really fast. And a key driver of their business is, of course, their product drops that drives a lot of people to their digital properties. But equally important, key driver of their success is how they're able to take those visitors and show them the portfolio of products they have, how they want to buy more. They do that through storytelling. This is content. And lastly, I recently met with a media company, and they make magazines. And of course, key part of their success is writing good magazine articles. But did you know that equally important for them is them enabling commerce on top of their editorial content, either through affiliate networks like Amazon or selling directly on their own properties? This is also content, maybe more expressed as metadata and product data, but this is content. If you don't know what drives your business, how can you make the right choices? How can you align your business? Too often, we find ourselves in this endless game of tactical catch-up. And then we're not thinking intentionally. Then we're not enabling our teams to work strategically. Once you have this insight though, this is why I love meeting these companies who really understand this business, you look at your business through a different lens. And you can start making decisions and prioritize resources around the core initiatives that really move the needle. And content is a key part of moving that needle. How often don't we find our teams of brilliant, smart, well-intended people working in different directions because they're not aligned? One of the most important jobs I have as a CEO of Sanity is making sure that we have a common view of what's important and that we're executing on some core initiatives, that we work in the same direction. So we multiply the efforts of our teams. It's also too often that we find that systems are working against us, working against our teams. They have to spend hours doing busy work or working in weird ways because some software vendor thought this is the way you should work. I call this one size fits no one, and we should not accept it. It may sound as a cliche, but it's so important and is lacking in the industry how you can enable people to work intentionally. We created Sanity with the target of being a platform for working strategically with content. We enable you to shape the system after your business logic. We make it adaptable, customizable, extensible, so that you can encode your business logic into the content model and into the workflows the way you are working. We do that so that your teams could work collaboratively, so that their efforts can compound. And we make content data reusable from a single source of truth. And we enable you to easily connect your systems. Not that you have to move all your content or all your data into Sanity, but you could connect these different systems to amazing APIs and ways of thinking about content that makes it natural to bring your content through Sanity, to have this one way of working with content. We try to find a name for this, to come up with a way of talking about this. And we call this the content fabric. The content fabric is a mindset more than it is a system. It's about connecting your teams, your content, your systems, and your customers, so that you can deliver the right communication, the right content in the right place at the right time. Not bombarding your customers or the end users of whatever you're making with busy noise, but be precise of what you want to achieve. The content fabric is as important for the hotel chain that need to communicate with the hotel owners as it is for the fashion brand that need to tell better stories to their customers. And equally important for the magazine companies that need to tie together the content into their commerce efforts. A company that really embraces this way of thinking, that have understood the way of working and thinking about this as a content fabric, is Tecovas, down in Austin, Texas. We sent Simon, our co-founder and CTO, down to visit Kevin and his team to see how they are working.
Is that your first ride?
That was my first time at the ranch ever. It's my first time in Texas. It's my first time in proper boots. It's my first time in a cowboy hat. This is a lot of firsts for me. So I'm here in Austin, in Texas, to meet my heroes at Tecovas. This is a team that really understands how to build an effective e-commerce operation that feels alive and present. I'm gonna learn how they do it, and in the end, we're gonna distill their secret, and I'm gonna share it with you.
I want to build teams that are focused on either solving specific problems for our customer experience or making internal processes more efficient so that our small teams that we have can be more strategic. Right out of the gate, I knew that I wanted to find a way to help unify some of the systems we have. We're setting a product up to probably 95% done at this point in Sanity, and then they're able to launch that product in the same day. And Sanity starts to kind of be the central repository for how we're managing all of our product information. We did that just with 3 engineers total.
You're moving me to tears again. Amazing, thank you.
I've got Kleenexes around here somewhere. Yeah.
This is like a classic spot.
Yeah.
It looks like a movie set, to be honest.
Really?
I see myself as someone that's going to deliver the digital merchandisers the right tools to do their job in like an effective and quick way. Get their heads out of like all the little minutia and the busy work, and get to the stuff that actually matters to them, rather than here's everything, have fun, see you in a few days. So
the kind of content just drives the e-commerce engine and also the experience. You just like bring one change and it just percolates out.
yeah, I mean, at this point, Sanity really is our content source of truth.
We definitely just continue to think of ways to try to automate processes so that I can focus on bigger picture things and performance. This is one of our horseman boots.
Oh yes, you can actually mount a spur.
You can mount a spur on the back, yeah. This is the Savannah. It's definitely more of your going out date night boot. Our boots serve such different purposes, so I think it's important to make sure that we have that differentiation across, the PDP. We have a ranchwear collection, and then we have a wedding collection, and we are launching our music and festival campaign on Thursday. Continuously offering newness to our customer, which is really great and exciting. So great to be able to have so many ways to feature this now across our site, and we can do it ourselves, which is amazing.
What was your tagline again as a brand?
Don't go gently.
Yes, that's what we're going to do now.
Don't go gently. Go for it.
A
That's
little
right.
bit gently, maybe.
Yeah, maybe
First time.
start gently and then go. We set out and designed 12 to 15 modules that we call them inside of our Sanity studio. And that allows us to have a homepage that looks different every single time we want to make a new homepage, but we're using the same types of content blocks to build that homepage for what we need to actually get done for that particular campaign.
You have the same module system for your kind of category pages, for your
Homepages, category pages, and those modules
you
can be
also
reused
have
on
them in
collections.
PDPs.
That's
right. So every PDP can be as customized as
We can
necessary.
add those modules where we need to. That's
The
exactly right.
storytelling goes everywhere.
That's right.
Exactly.
So each color inherits the parent information, but then could have its own custom description or details if there were more specific product information that we wanted to share for this colorway. So we've got care guides here set up in Sanity for Bison and for Lizard and for Python and Goat. And so these are generic care guides that get automatically linked
Exactly.
to our colorways because that is a
data.
goat. We're able to do that automatically for our merchants, so they don't have to worry about that anymore.
This is how it should be done. This is
Exactly.
like exactly how it should be done.
And they don't need an engineer to go connect all that up.
No,
That's
because
all
you
set up
run
for them.
everything from in here. This is like
Correct.
your Houston
Mission
control
control.
center.
That's right.
Exactly.
Mission control.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
exactly right. Yeah.
It seems like you're building this framework to kind of give the team the right expressivity, the right efficiency to do the things that matter to the business.
Exactly.
And everything else you take away.
Exactly. You know, I want to build tools and systems that at no point should I have to say, no, I can't do that. It's more of, should we do that?
Exactly.
Is actually the question.
Does it
that
matter to the business?
Is it actually worth doing? And if the answer is yes, well, then we've got a stack and the ability to go and do it.
Yeah.
I don't want my stack to be a limitation for our capabilities.
No.
It needs to be an enabler.
Wow, that was amazing. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Simon. Did you see that? They work together as a team, not like specialists working in silos. And then combine their systems, connect their systems, create automation and framework so that their content team can focus on what really matters. And as Kevin said, the question shouldn't be if you could do it. The question is if you should do it. So that this crazy idea that someone has in marketing isn't crazy because someone says that that's not impossible to do, but it could be crazy because of the crazy impact it could have on your business. So the content fabric is a way we think about how to work strategically with content. Since we started building Sanity years ago, we always wanted to extend into the earlier workflows of the creative phase. For months, I've been looking forward to this moment. Today, we are launching Sanity Create, a new product created specifically for the content creators. And our vision is simple: an efficient way for content creators to work with machines, to work together, to enable high quality content at scale that is connected to the content fabric. Simon, why don't you take it away and tell us more about Sanity Create?
Thank you, Magnus. Let's go back to the beginning. Where does content come from? How does it start? I mean, this is content. These words that I'm saying to you right now, these words that I'm pretending to come up with on the spot as I do my best to read them in a natural, conversational, relatable tone. In reality, of course, I'm not really here. In reality, I'm in my basement home office over my keyboard, looking at my 3, 4, 5 previous revisions, my feedback from the kind of team from yesterday, and I'm writing revision number 6, word for word. It is meticulous. But if you're hearing this, this was the last one. Yay. This is how content is born. This is where it begins. It is messy. It is hard. But if it wasn't hard, it wouldn't be valuable. That's fine. But I feel that the tools we are using now are not that helpful. I typically use this kind of distraction-free writing tool to write my text. In reality, I don't spend a lot of time in there because I'm over in Slack getting feedback. I'm over here trying to find stuff in Google Docs, looking for stuff in Notion, bringing things together. There's some email there. I'm pulling all of this together. It's more curation and logistics than actual creation. But my reality right now is very different because I am using Sanity Create to write this text. And it is a content creation tool that embraces this reality. It knows that writing consists of the actual writing, but for that to be distraction-free, the tool needs to know about your context. It needs to have your notes. It needs to know about your intentions. It needs to have the plans and the feedback. This is a tool that allows you to do that. And then, of course, using AI, it can now help you. It's in a position to co-author with you because it knows what you're trying to do. It is high context content creation. Let's just look at it. Molly Frederick, from our Director of Product Marketing, is here, and she'll just show you. Molly, go ahead.
Thanks, Simon. I am so happy we get to bring Sanity Create to the world today. And I say to the world on purpose. Sanity Create is a standalone product that anyone who wants a more impactful, more connected, more modern creation space can use. There's no developer setup and no company-level subscription. So, what can you do with Create? Like you, I've been trying to figure out the right story, the right content to do justice to this inspired new product. We decided to bring it to life through the lens of Sanity, a cycling brand that we've created to showcase the fullness of how content drives business across marketing, e-commerce, service, and legal, really every corner of the organization. So Sanity is renowned for its precise engineering and smart technology, but it's more than a bike manufacturer. They engage their passionate community and drive revenue across their magazine, fitness apps, and cycling tourism. Today, a few different folks are creating content for a common goal, an upcoming model launch. Each person has their own charter and expertise, but they're free from silos. We have Nora, a product specialist, who's creating the script for the spec overview video. Lucas, a digital marketer working on the new product landing page, and Sophie, a copywriter drafting a profile on fan favorite Annie Speed and her first rides on the bike. Let's start with Nora. She opens up Sanity Create and selects the video script that she's started to frame out. Create has notes for things like Sanity's brand voice, the structure for their tech overview videos, things like key chapters and target length. And it also has context from the product team on who the bike is designed for, their expertise level, terrain type, and price point, as well as what components and technology make up the bike. Now, behind the scenes, Sanity Create is processing these notes, extracting meaning, and forming a perspective for how to make use of the context. It's using leading large language models from Anthropic, which Sanity chose after seeing exceptional performance against the jobs that creators tackle. This isn't just another app on top of GPT. With her inputs and references all set, Nora is ready to start writing. This clean, open workspace gives her the breathing room to start framing out her ideas. She's not constrained to editing boxes or rigid workflows. But she's also not alone in facing the blank page. She asked Sanity Create to block out an outline for her. This looks great, so she accepts it and dives in, scripting out the words that she'll say in the video. As she's typing the intro, she wants a suggestion from Create. She gets back this line, which is good, but she wants to see a few more options. Exploring these on-the-fly options is refreshingly different from her attempts to use ChatGPT. She's not getting back a wall of off-the-mark text to parse through and edit. Instead, bite-sized additions that give her momentum and bring her inputs top of mind. With Nora's work off to a great start, let's peek over at how Lucas is doing with the product landing page. He has notes for context just like Nora, including Sanity's product landing page best practices and requirements. And the brand team has added in images and videos for him to incorporate. Lucas has already made progress on the page hero section. That is a stunning bike. And now he's ready to draft content blocks for the key rider benefits. Here he asks Create to bullet out the key benefits, drawing from his interview with the product designer about their design motivations and the rider needs that they were solving for. This saves him time and keeps him from missing any key points that he needs to hit. So now he can start writing. He uses inline formatting to add the benefit headline and starts writing up the paragraph. Suggestions as he types makes his creative exploration more expansive. While Lucas, like most of us, can get hooked into one framing, Sanity is there with a few angles and, unlike most of us, never runs out of ideas. Next, Lucas asks Create to suggest the right image from the brand team to place here, saving him the chore of going through all of the notes. Create adds the image, along with the alt text and even a note on why it made this choice. As he wraps up this section, Lucas wants an eye from Nora. She's his go-to reviewer to make sure the content is credible and compelling with the cyclist that he's writing for. He adds a comment and tags her so she's alerted. And here we can see that Nora is hopping in to help him out. While she does that, we'll see how Sophie's profile on sponsored athlete Annie Solheim is coming along. Here she's adding a note with the entire transcript of her interview. Sanity Create knows what this text is about and categorizes it. Then Sophie has Create help out by pulling out all the quotes about the bike. Great. She splits these into a new note to make it easy for both her and Create to easily reference. With her context in front of her, she's ready to get started. Off the bat, she wants some ideas for how to frame out the article. Using the transcript, writer bio, and other notes, Create is well equipped to suggest the story flow. Sophie watches the outline emerge, likes the direction, and accepts it. With that in place, she jumps into the section on Annie's return to racing because it's most fresh in her mind after the interview. She's really had a sense of this section ever since sitting down with Annie. She flies through the paragraph, writing with as much ease as she does in any word processor. But with some powerful assists along the way, like flagging this brand guideline. As she tells the story, she asks Create to find the most relevant quote to incorporate. This is a big advantage. Before using Sanity Create, Sophie would drop in placeholders and go back later to scour for supporting quotes. Now, she has an assistant on the task in real time. And working the quotes in as she goes energizes her writing and brings her closer to the story. Now let's flash ahead to when Sophie's article is done, reviewed, and ready to be staged. Here's where we'd normally see Sophie send a Slack message over to Lucas, who would maybe see it but not reply right away. So Sophie would get stressed that maybe he missed it and send an email with the attachment. And then Lucas would sigh and stop what he was doing to stage the article, tediously copying and pasting, trying to move fast only to make a mistake and have to troubleshoot. But now she can avoid all of that and save Lucas the time. She simply clicks the button in Create and her article is ported directly into Sanity Studio. We'll pick up our journey with the Sanity team as they move from Create into Sanity Studio and announce a couple of new features in just a few minutes. But first, I'll pass it back to you, Simon, for your conversation with David from Love Holidays.
Thank you, Molly. Of course, this is only the beginning for Sanity Create. But even at this early stage, I use it all the time. It's just so useful. It has reshaped how we create content inside this company immediately. We have so many ideas for where we want to take this next, but more than anything, we'd like to learn from you. We want your feedback. We want to see what you do with it. It is freely available right now. It is very useful, even if your company is not currently a Sanity company. So everyone can just go to sanity.io/create right now and have a go. Just log in. It's in early access, we say, because there's still some important features missing. Connection to the Sanity Studio, especially important, but progress is fast. If you are watching this on YouTube later, probably go double check. It's probably out by now. Anyway, as large language models happened, as everyone was talking about them, we heard people tell us like, oh, this is the end of the content creators, all gonna be machines now. Like, doubtful, but still fair. Let's go check. We talked to our customers, figuring out what they wanted to do with it. Turns out most companies are drowning in opportunity. They're not looking to cut back, they are looking to do more with the resources they have. So this is what we heard, is companies trying to power up their content teams, just getting more stuff done faster at higher quality. So that's kind of our rallying cry for Sanity Create. It's just powering up the content team, empowering the content team, and making it all be about the content team. One of the inspiration for this was Love Holidays, who built their whole content pipeline around the content team, not around the kind of systems, people-oriented thinking. So, and they were very generous in sharing their insights and experiences with us, shaping our development work with Sanity Create. So I'm very happy now to introduce to you David Anes, the VP of Product at Love Holidays. Welcome, David.
Thanks for having me on this, Simon. Excited to talk about AI.
So grateful that you could join us. We learned a lot from you during the design process of Sanity Create. And you were one of the first companies we came across who really had a strategic use for AI and the ability to just execute on that. Can you explain like roughly what you do and what challenges did you have where it made such immediate sense so early in the game?
We sort of see AI as this opportunity to kind of improve our efficiencies and do things at scale, especially with content. And given our tiny content team of 6 content editors, we have over 40,000 hotels. There's no way that they can actually get to edit all of them and get them to a good quality. And so we started leveraging AI to kind of generate the next set of descriptions for the hotel, so that then the editors have a much smaller set of work to do, and they can just do copy edits rather than having to write the full descriptions, which has significantly improved our ability to kind of scale internationally, but then also just have better content for a lot of our hotels that maybe we don't focus on as much.
Exactly. And maybe, is it fair to say that even like by scaling it up like this, you are allowed or you have the resources to have a human in the loop at all times? Without that, you probably would have just used like clipped content or source content from your suppliers directly.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's really important, right? Because like content editors aren't going to go away in the AI world. I think it's very much about leveling up content and making sure that they can then add in the additional bits to make it even more human and more natural. But AI just makes us go a lot faster and do it at scale.
Exactly. So one thing that impressed me was because when we look around, a lot of companies kind of view the AI implementation as kind of a technical implementation, but you started very frugally, just having the content team just own this process themselves initially. Was that deliberate?
Yeah, I think so. Like the content team are the experts in writing content, and we don't want to take that away from them. I think for us, it's about finding the ways that we can plug in AI to help them go faster. And if, before they were essentially copy pasting stuff from ChatGPT, etc., into a document, that's not exactly an ideal workflow. So whatever we can do to kind of make that go faster and more efficient is our goal. But we don't know how to write content better than content editors themselves. And so they should own that process and the output from the prompts and the AI.
Yeah, because you put even the prompting and all of that, even when you kind of formalize this as a technical pipeline, you still run that from within Sanity, right?
Yeah. So we actually have all of our prompts and our prompt chains essentially in Sanity, where the content editors have full access to them. And so we control our tone of voice, the things that we don't want hotels to be saying about the descriptions, and all of those things are completely owned by the content editors, because we want them to understand prompt engineering and understand how they can continuously refine it, but then as well as that, see the outputs immediately on site and see what differences it can make if they change the AI that they're using or change the prompts very specifically for specific scenarios.
That's amazing. I think it's fair to say that Sanity Create was modeled after your approach. You are like a lot of companies are going through the same thing you are doing, but you're just far ahead. We wanted to kind of have where driving the AI system is seen as a creative task and handled by the creative teams, just like you are doing it. And in one sense, we try to package these disjoint and improvised workflows that team cobble together with like chat-based tools in a more proper writing tools that feels more like writing than prompting. Do you think we got it right?
From what I've seen so far, it looks amazing. I think that the way that it integrates into your normal writing flow, the way that it streams the content back to you and it doesn't just dump an entire wall of text that you have to then edit. Those sort of things are really, really powerful for content editors. And the less context switching that anybody has to do, the better, right, for everybody.
Yeah, so true. So I mean, like, this is early access. There are still missing features, to be honest, but I think what we have is still pretty solid. But if you got one magic wish from the Sanity Create team, what feature would you want next?
I think having seen it, document references would be ideal, given that, you know, content editors have already written a lot of content, and that content is definitely potentially contextual to what they're writing next. The way I think about it is, if I'm writing a hotel description, I might want to bring in the context of the destination that hotel is in. We've already written a guide about that destination, and so being able to reference that in the context of the AI of Sanity Create will be really powerful for the content editors and make them write a lot faster.
It sounds amazing. We'll get right on that. Thank you, David. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Simon.
Awesome. Thanks again, Simon, and thank you, David. So we saw Sanity Create, a dramatically more powerful and connected writing experience for content teams. Now, we'll follow the Sanity team as they pick up in Sanity Studio, the collaborative, configurable interface where the heart of content operations happens. And we have a few new features to call out. First, we've streamlined content reviews with in-context, trackable commenting and task management. Next, we've added powerful new use cases to AI Assist, including translation, suggested references, and image generation. And latest of them all, an integration with Amplitude Experiment so you can reduce context switching as you manage content for A/B testing. To take us through all of this and more is Simeon Griggs, Principal Educator on the Community and Education team.
Thanks, Molly. I'm delighted to pick up the story of our Sanity teammates here and introduce a new one, Alex, our Head of Performance Marketing, in just a moment. When we left off, Sophie had asked Sanity Create to stage her article. As a copywriter, Sophie lives in Sanity Create. She's not an expert in Sanity Studio, the CMS part of the platform, and she doesn't want to be. When she clicked the button in Sanity Create to push her profile article to Sanity Studio, she made a smooth handoff to Lucas for content operations work. Now we're here in Sanity Studio's presentation view, looking at the article Sanity Create staged for Sophie. Lucas localizes the article for Sanity's non-English regions. He uses AI Assist, and because it understands their content structure deeply, it can translate the entire article and all its nested fields at once. He's not stuck tediously translating field by field. While AI Assist does that work for him, he's going to use Sanity's intelligent image cropping and scaling to make sure this photo presents perfectly everywhere it's used. Unlike with other CMSs, he doesn't need to ask the design team for 10 different aspect ratios for any given placement. Next, he merchandises the photo to make it seamless for readers to engage more deeply with the product that's core to the story. No one should have to go to a new tab and search for the S600 to learn about its component parts. With content centralized in Sanity and treated as data, creating these connections is as simple as selecting references, no duplicating content. To make sure he's mapped these components correctly, Lucas leans on Nora to double check. He uses the latest tasks feature to tag Nora and outline his request. Assigning it to her triggers a notification outside of Sanity Studio to let Nora know, and, to keep things moving, sets a clear due date on the task. With that task added, Lucas can go ahead and schedule this for the launch date, knowing the page won't publish before all tasks are complete. And now moves on to tackle work with the product launch page that he's finalizing. We want to enrich a mention of Annie on this particular page with some statistics that have been improved since she's been using this bicycle. Here we have a custom annotation, which is yet again a reference to a document type in the studio. So statistics in this studio are a document type, which means, again, should these numbers ever change, any documents that link to it will always be showing the latest from that source of truth. And here, Annie's had an increase in power from having used this bike. You may have noticed that while Lucas has been working away, other teammates have as well. Let's take a peek at what Alex, Head of Performance Marketing, is working on. He's working from the vantage of the Structure tool, which shows the entire content model, all of Sanity's building blocks for content across every touchpoint. You've got products, people, policies, even rider reviews. Right now, Alex is working on an experiment to A/B test language on the navigation highlighting the new model. He names this version Control for his reference, then using the new Amplitude experiment integration, selects the correct experiment he created in Amplitude and publishes it. To create the variant, he duplicates this featured nav item, gives it the treatment reference name, and tells Amplitude it is the treatment. Finally, he updates the copy for his test to see if pre-order is more enticing. Now these variants are connected to the experiment in Amplitude and ready to run. Next on Alex's plate is preparing display ads for the launch. He uses AI Assist to brainstorm some headlines. Because Sanity supports real-time collaboration, he can work with anyone, machine or human, in the same document at the same time. No more getting locked out like with other CMSs. And he's able to work visually with side-by-side previews, even for non-web assets like this ad. So now we've followed along with the teams and all the moving parts they're managing, let's take a look at how everything is coming together. From our preview environment, we can see what the homepage will look like on launch day with our navigation experiment, the article that Sophie wrote, Sanity Create Staged and Lucas Optimized, and the PDP that the article will lead readers to explore, be inspired, and ultimately add the S600 to their cart. I'm really wishing this was a real bike that I could snag for myself someday. So I'll hand over the mic now to Aigen, who has our Sanity customer, Amplitude.
Welcome, Francisca. It's so great to have you here. I'm looking forward to learning more about Amplitude's success with Sanity. But first, I myself admire Amplitude as this innovative tech brand. And I know you have a big mission, and you yourself have a mission with your role at Amplitude. So tell us a little about Amplitude and a little about your role.
Yeah. At Amplitude, our mission is to help people build better products. And our product is a platform that offers analytics, experimentation, customer data platform, and session replay, all in one suite to empower product, data, engineering, and marketing teams. My role at Amplitude, I head up the growth marketing team here. So my team oversees new user acquisition. We own our paid, organic, and direct channels, including our marketing website. We have a retention pod that's focused on driving in-product engagement and retention. And then we have a monetization pod that's focused on driving self-serve revenue as well as pipeline for our sales teams.
That's amazing. And I know that as a company that sets the standard on what a great product and experience should be, and inspires others by looking at data, you also care a lot about the experience, content experience your audience that come to your website has with you. And you recently switched to Sanity from another platform. So tell us about the journey of switching to Sanity as a content platform, what it has been like, and what are some of the results you've seen?
Yeah, for sure. So when I joined Amplitude, we were on a legacy CSM platform, and it was almost impossible for end users to create and release content. It was slow and it was error prone, and we more often than not needed engineering resources to even make the smallest changes. So we wanted to change that. We wanted to be quick, fast, agile. And so we looked for an alternative and obviously landed with Sanity, which we're extremely excited about. So now that we are replatformed on Sanity, we have tons of users that can self-serve. We can launch new landing pages, new blogs, new pages in general in seconds to minutes, depending on what it is. And it's easy for anyone internally to do so. Some of the results that we've seen so far is that we have seen a really strong lift in traffic overall, almost 20%. And we contribute that to the fact that we're able to launch a lot more pages a lot faster with Sanity. We've also seen a 260% increase in Amplitude users using Sanity and using the platform independently. And 90% of our internal users are making updates in the past few months alone. We've also seen improvements on the engineering side with our site speed increasing over 70% since we migrated to Sanity.
That's incredible. What amazing results. That's amazing. And you obviously look at data of how things are working coming from your ethos. I know that you've also used your own product, integrated it with Sanity, your own Amplitude API to better listen to your audience, to better understand what works and what doesn't. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, with Sanity, we built a custom integration with our own experimentation tool. And so now we're able to launch experiments on the website without any engineering resources involved. So we're able to run copy tests, placement tests, module and component tests, button copy, whatever it is, we're able to launch, iterate, and improve with no engineering resources required.
Amazing. That was very inspiring. Thank you so much, Francisca, and thanks for joining us. Now, that was about the editorial experience on Sanity and how Ampliteers at Amplitude were able to scale the content operations by producing more content. Now, there's another part to scale, and that is scaling your infrastructure to be more real time with content. Now, to talk about that, I would like to invite our SVP of Engineering, Rachel, to introduce a new product that helps you just with that. Rachel, take it away.
Thanks so much, Aigen. Earlier, we heard Magnus talk about unified content operations. A key part of it is the ability to deliver content to your customers quickly and efficiently. And today I'm here to talk to you about doing just that. You're probably already familiar with the concept of a CDN, a content delivery network that stores copies of your content across the globe and very close to your customers, so you can serve your content to them quickly. Sanity already provides a world-class CDN. It serves billions of requests a day incredibly efficiently. CDNs speed up content delivery by storing it in a local cache and work well when that content doesn't change very often. But what if your content is highly dynamic? For instance, on Black Friday, when your inventory is changing quickly, or during the playoffs when your audience wants real-time game stats. There are many, many scenarios where content is both watched by large audiences and changing quickly. A traditional CDN helps you serve content at massive scale, but when your content changes continuously, the CDN needs to be updated constantly. But this introduces a lag that increases when your traffic is high and your changes are rapid, which is exactly what you don't want when content freshness is important. Well, no more. Today, I'm thrilled to announce the industry's first CMS native high-frequency CDN. It ensures your content is always up to date, even when distributing highly dynamic, frequently changing content to millions of global users. There are three main properties that make Sanity's high-frequency CDN stand out. First, it's built right into Sanity's content platform. Second, it's easy to integrate with any system your data needs to sync from. And third, it proactively updates content in real time, in mere seconds. This feature comes in two parts. First, we've deployed the second generation of our CDN with a brand new architecture optimized to support really high sustained content throughput. Second, we're introducing the Live Content API. This API allows the CDN not only to serve fresh content when asked for it, but it also proactively pushes this content to your websites, apps, or other experiences. This API supports millions of concurrent connections, keeping the state of your end user experiences efficiently in sync. So for instance, during a flash sale, you can use this API to track sales inventory in real time and update your application UI in a targeted way to reflect the changing state. With the addition of our live content API, the high frequency CDN is not only about serving fresh content, but it also extends all the way into your end user experience. So as you can probably tell, I'm pretty excited about the power we're giving you, our customers, with this new CDN experience. Now, let's see it all in action, shall we? So back to Sanity. Today, they're having a one-day sale of their most exclusive products. These are all very hot items. So naturally, millions of Sanity fans flock to their website to acquire these future collector's items. As I scroll down, I see something change. The white commuter helmet gets replaced with the signature red one. Let's take a moment to realize what just happened here. It's not a site animation. It's actually the high-frequency CDN doing its job. When the inventory from Shopify is out of stock, the site gets automatically updated with the next most popular item from the same category. And all of this is happening in real time. So just like that, as a loyal Sanity customer, I check out with my exclusive item. This means no frustrated customers for Sanity and no lost business either. All thanks to real-time merchandising enabled by Sanity's high-frequency CDN. To further discuss the opportunities that this unlocks, I'm thrilled to welcome Kevin Harwood, CTO of the beloved brand Tecovas. Kevin, it's so great to have you here. Let's dive right in. Can you start by telling us about your role at Tecovas and your vision for digital experiences for this amazing brand?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Rachel. I'm the CTO at Tecovas. We're a Western footwear and apparel brand based in Austin, Texas. We're a D2C business. We serve our customers online as well as 32 retail stores across the United States. And when you walk into one of our stores, you can smell the leather, you can feel the quality and the craftsmanship of our products and materials. We'll pour you a drink, we'll brand your boots, we'll even shine them for you. And so really our vision for e-com is how do we take these unique physical experiences that we can deliver in a retail world and find a way to translate those into our online experience for our customers. And I want to be able to deliver and iterate on this vision quickly, creatively, and at a scale by building on top of the best-in-class e-commerce stack that I can find.
Oh, thanks so much for sharing. That's really great. So clearly speed, scale, and creative freedom are very important to you. I get it. How have you built your tech stack to enable all of that today?
Yeah, so when we were choosing our stack, we had a few quick key requirements to help us get to our digital vision. Some of the must-haves were we have a small team. We don't have a huge engineering team for a company our size. We want to be able to leverage that small team. We want to be able to easily reuse content. We want to automate as many systems as possible and try to reduce the number of manual things that employees are having to do to just bring data along and launch product and maintain the site. I had this mantra where I would really want my team answering the should we question rather than we can't do that in response to new ideas and things that come up in our creative processes. And I also want to use technology that engineers just want to work with because that's going to enable them to work faster and be more excited about the jobs that they're doing. And I think all of that helps drive cross-team collaboration. And so with that in mind, what we landed on was Shopify Hydrogen as our commerce platform. We're using Remix as our UI layer with their headless frameworks and integrations with Shopify. And then we're using Sanity as our content platform. And Sanity here really helped us connect and automate things and move content around. Our engineers and business stakeholders work side by side. They can work creatively. They deliver things faster. We've been able to dramatically reduce the amount of time it even takes to prepare products for launch and just get them on our website. So we've seen a lot of positive impacts from bringing this stack to fruition.
Very cool. Thanks so much for sharing, Kevin. And I totally agree with your philosophy on how to build teams. And I'm so glad to hear that Sanity is helping you accomplish your goals. So we talked about real-time content updates and merchandising earlier. Looking ahead, what would the new high-frequency CDN enable your teams to do?
Yeah, we're really excited to dig into this technology and uncover new ways that we can leverage it moving forward. When you think about e-commerce sites, we definitely have periods of time that have very fast-moving changes, especially when we have limited edition product drops, inventory sellouts. You think about the Black Friday, Cyber Monday season during the holidays. There's a lot of traffic, a lot of volume, a lot of things selling and moving fast. And traditionally, we've always wanted to be very conservative during these times. We've look to leverage our CDN wherever possible to kind of maximize caching and minimize the risk of overloading some of our servers and things like that. But now with a high frequency CDN, we can actually look to these times as opportunities to create e-com experiences that can bring customers delight. We can maybe drive urgency in new ways with some more interactive user experiences. And I think we'll just create a better overall converting experience for our customers moving forward. And we're really looking forward to exploring this technology and applying it within Shopify Hydrogen and Remix moving forward.
That's fantastic, Kevin. I really can't wait to see what you build and see how you evolve your stack to take advantage of this new technology. So thank you so much for joining us and sharing your perspective.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks to all of you for being part of our community. We're building Sanity to be the best platform to power your content and help you move faster. I hope you're as excited as we are about the new possibilities with the high-frequency CDN and the live content API. The high-frequency CDN is currently available to eligible enterprise customers. Ask your representative. The live content API is available to everyone and is in early access right now. Check the Sanity blog for details. I can't wait to see what you build. And now I'd like to invite Knut to come and talk to us all about Sanity Learn.
Thanks, Rachel. That was an excellent overview of how Sanity's live content API enables real-time content updates to keep up with customer demand during peak times. And something that we'll hope get high demand is what we are launching now. And with me to announce that, I have Simeon Griggs. We both work in the Sanity developer education and community team with our wonderful colleagues Cap and Martin. And for the next few minutes, we want to talk about education and how you can upskill as a developer building with Sanity. When I started my web developer journey over 20 years ago, there weren't a lot of resources on the web that I could easily find as a 15-year-old kid about building for the web. So I had to borrow a book at the library called HTML for Dummies, and I also subscribed to computer magazines that came in the mail every month. They had some HTML in them that I could kind of transcribe into my computer and try out. Simon, what did you use when you started your web developer journey back in the days?
Yeah, so before I had the internet at home, I would ride my BMX to the library every Saturday and book in a 30-minute online session to fill up as many floppy disks as I had in my backpack with downloaded web pages and images, and then go home and study the source code to build my own table-based layouts in Notepad, essentially doing local first far before it was cool.
And you might argue that developing for the web has gotten much more complex since back then. But on the flip side, the amount of educational content and offerings you have for learning on the web is much, much better now. We have great platforms like Free Code Camp and Egghead, and so many incredible individual educators that are working across all the channels. And I also see more and more companies invest in developing education for developers. Do you have any favorite educational content today, Simeon?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of video content. There's some amazing web development educators on YouTube and a lot of video content now appearing on X as well. And I'm trying to contribute small amounts of that myself lately. But what I haven't seen is educational content about content. Especially using structured content to author things based on what they are, not what they look like, because doing this makes your content much more adaptable to creative uses that you might not have imagined when you were first starting a project. And I also don't see developers talking much about content editors, which is really confounding because every website has content and that content has to come from somewhere. And it is literally somebody's job every day to work with a CMS and put that content in front of your users. So as someone who's facilitated many workshops to onboard developers with Sanity and get them to appreciate the editor side of the experience, I started a training application to make sure that developers could begin to onboard themselves.
Yeah, and when you launched the training app, it stayed this hidden gem in the Sanity verse for a while. And what I also find interesting about it is that it has less to do with like the technical specifics of Sanity and more to do with how to think about building with structured content, how to accommodate your content teams, and so on.
Yeah, it was essential to me that it was all about making you work ready. So it was less about Sanity works like this and that, and more about what outcomes are you trying to achieve on behalf of your editors. And all of those tasks and concerns, they go into leveraging a CMS. They come up when you're replatforming to Sanity or building out a brand new experience on the web.
And that's why we are very stoked and proud to announce that we are launching the new Sanity Learn platform today for everyone. So this was an evolution of the training app that you made for customers, and it's a new way to learn and upskill in a more directed and opinionated manner. Simon, would you like to take us through some of the things we can do on Sanity Learn?
Sure. So this is the Sanity Learn homepage, and there's a number of courses that we could choose from, but we're sort of directing most people to start with the Day One with Sanity Studio course. It really touches every part of the platform and gets you to create a new project, set up a studio, create schema, make that schema much better, query it with Grok, render it into a front end. You'll get to a real great understanding from start to finish what it's like to work with Sanity. If you're logged in with your Sanity account while you're using the Learning app, you'll be able to mark tasks as complete so you can track your progress as you work your way through each lesson. And perhaps most importantly of all, at the bottom of every lesson is this feedback form here. Now, this creates a document in our Sanity Studio, which fires a Grok-powered webhook, which fires a Slack notification, which I get. So consider this form here a hot path to my DMs to leave feedback on any of the course material that you use while you're in the Learning app.
Yeah, and some of you have already tried out Sanity Learn during our community beta, and we appreciate all the feedback that Simon got into his DMs. And since we launched the beta, we also have new courses on schema change management, on TypeScript generation, Epic e-commerce, and other updates as well.
That's right. And we'll continue to develop new courses based on feedback that we receive in the community and from our customers. Sometimes courses will be quite brief, sometimes they'll be more comprehensive. And even though our team often focuses on developers, you'll see course material here about building out resilient Sanity teams. So we want to make sure project managers and content creators are considered as well.
But Simeon, I noticed that the day one course is a part of a track or something. What does that mean?
That's right. So the Day One with Sanity Studio course is part of the Sanity Developer Essentials track.
That's neat. Rhetorical follow-up question. What is the Sanity Developer Essentials track?
I'm so glad that you asked, Knut. Thank you. So I'm stoked to announce that we're also launching the very first Sanity Developer certification. It's the official way to prove that we believe you have what it takes to deliver a Sanity project through to production. And certification's quite new for us. So we want to start first by getting our agency partners involved and having them onboard their developers. And we'll take in their feedback on this program and then open it wide later this year.
That's awesome. So if you are one of our agency partners, let us know for your agency contact or a partner channel so we can get you and your developer colleagues enrolled. And before we pass on the mics, I also want to highlight that Sanity Learn is made with Sanity, of course. And I must say, Simeon, like even though I wasn't surprised, I'm still amazed on how quickly you set up what's essentially a full-fledged learning management system with Sanity and Remix. Not only did it save us from shelling out for some mediocre LMS, but it also allowed us to give Sanity Learn a much more unique look and feel that's more true to our brand identity. Much thanks to our designer colleague, Lars, of course.
Yeah, that's right. We're walking and chewing gum at the same time. And if we had more time, I'd love to go through all of the details about how things like the tasks in there, they're actually custom portable text objects. And when you complete them, it writes to a progress document, which is saved in our same Sanity Studio here. It's a very Sanity project from start to finish.
Right on. Maybe we should make like a how to make Sanity Learn course or something, right?
That would be meta.
So we do hope everyone tries out Sanity Learn and let us know what you think. And if you're an agency partner, let us know if you want to be enrolled in the Sanity Developer Certification Program. And speaking of learning, we are all in for a treat now, and surely some learning. I'll send it over to Magnus, who has an exceptional guest with him with some unique perspectives on AI. And I look forward to learning more about that.
Amazing. Thank you, Knut and Simeon. Sanity Learn, huh? If you're going to be strategic about content, really have to learn how to use it. Thank you, Knut and Simeon. And thank you all team for all the amazing work you put down into this event and into the product releases we had today. And thank you everyone in the audience for sticking with us. Now the moment you've been waiting for. I'm a huge Pixar fan. And in fact, Pixar is about 10 minutes down the road from where I am now. For more than 20 years, he worked at Pixar, being the storyteller behind movies like Toy Story, Monsters, Inc., Finding Nemo. He understands how to connect with your audience. He understands how to tell stories. And today, he's going to share that with us. In addition to making this film, Matthew Learn has moved on to consult with companies you may heard of, like Apple, Google, and Adidas. And today, he's going to share his insight with us. I can't wait, so why don't we just get right to it. Welcome, Matthew Learn.
You know, yes, I really have worked on all these movies. But when I share with people what I do for a living, I simply say my job is to make people cry. Because if you've seen the opening of the movie Up, the end of Toy Story 3, yes, it's my job to make you cry in front of your movie date, your children. But it's also my job as a storyteller to make people laugh. When you see Mr. Potato Head fall and all his pieces fall out of his face, or Mike Wazowski get poked in his one eye over and over again in Monsters, Inc., that's my job, to make people laugh, to make them cry, and most importantly, to inspire them, to make them feel something, to move them. This is what the job of a great storyteller is all about, whether it is for entertainment or for business. Now, my story begins in a not so normal place because when I was born, my mom and dad owned 7 toy stores in the San Francisco Bay Area called Jeffrey's Toys. Now, not only did they own these stores, they operated them. And I can tell you, growing up as a kid, I was the most loved and hated child for having every single toy. But my mom and dad did not start Jeffrey's Toys in San Francisco. Actually, my grandparents owned it before they did. And before my grandparents, my great-grandparents owned the toy stores. And before my great-grandparents, my great-great-grandfather, Charlie, with the mustache, actually they all have mustaches, the black and white photo of the guy with the mustache, he hated toys and kids. He had nothing to do with the toy stores. He owned a cigar shop in San Francisco and ran illegal gambling. But other than Charlie, everybody else in my family has been in the business of telling stories around how wonderful it is to get that first toy when you were a kid. My dad, holding the Slinky there, he ran the toy store his entire life. And he is such a big toy collector. He is truly a kid at heart. And behind him is his father, a Marine from World War II. But I got to tell you something. My dad, his dream was not to take over the toy stores. My dad's dream was to be a Disney animator. He was that kid growing up that drew through class when he should have been paying attention to his teachers. Even in high school, kept drawing. And when he served in the Vietnam War, he had a sketchbook and he drew all the time. He wanted to be a Disney animator. And when he came back from the war and said to his father, the Marine, Dad, I want to go work for Walt Disney, my grandfather said 2 words, starving artist. It's not going to happen. You're working for me. So I would have to say the Marine was a better salesman because my dad ended up coming in and being his father, my grandfather's partner at the toy store. In a decade, when you could have a glorious afro like this one. And this was when I came into the picture. My dad got married, had his first child, and that was me. And my dad tells me that when I was about 3 years old, he couldn't go to work, had an awful stomach flu. To be able to cheer him up, I did a drawing for him. Not just a drawing for him, but a drawing of him with a stomach ache. And you can see all the swirls in this drawing I did for my dad. But when my dad saw this drawing, he not only loved it, but he made a decision for me for the rest of my life. You will live my dream. You are the chosen one. You will be a Disney animator whether you like it or not. And so my dad ended up raising me with a, comics, how to draw books, and most importantly, took me to the movies all the time. Now, unfortunately, he did take me to the movies when I should have been at school, but at least all these movies were G-rated, animated, very appropriate. And then the movie came out. I was 5 years old, Star Wars. When my dad took me to this movie, he had to get permission from my very strict mom to take me to a non-G-rated movie. It wasn't animated, and there could be some potential death. This movie continues to be my favorite movie of all time. And if you've ever seen a Pixar film, you always see how we sneak in a Star Wars reference. But after we saw this movie, my dad decided, hey, let's go see all my favorite movies, which were not appropriate for kids in any way. Seeing The Shining when you're in elementary school, not a good idea. But all these movies my dad took me to, animated G-rated or Poltergeist R-rated, that just fueled my love for film and animation. And by the time I was in high school, I found a Super 8 camera, not digital, real film, and started making my first films, which led to me landing for college at a school called Cal Arts in LA. Now, chances are you've never heard of Cal Arts, but this is where almost all the directors, animators, storytellers that would be at Pixar came from. And when I came into Cal Arts, I was so excited and started making my first college film. And that freshman year, a director from my favorite TV show was going through the campus looking for new employees, saw my film, loved it, and on the spot offered me a job. I'm a freshman. I'm 19 years old. I tell him I need to finish 4 years of college first, right? No, I left. I moved to Hollywood and started working on the third season of The Simpsons, which really is the best season of The Simpsons. And my dad was so excited. He was so proud. I mean, this was a dream. And then one day while working on The Simpsons, animating, I stumbled into the story room. And this is really where my story changed. Now, I thought that people who write books, films, TV, they're probably very serious, very moody. They probably sit around smoking cigarettes and cussing and crunching up papers, and they hate their job, right? I saw something completely different on The Simpsons. I saw people having fun. I saw people in more of a improv, Saturday Night Live script room. And the people working at The Simpsons in the story room were a mix. There were people who were comedians like Conan O'Brien. There were people who were comic strip artists like Matt Groening. And then there were graduates from Harvard. But they all shared one thing in common: the power of a great story. Those early years of The Simpsons not only were funny, but they had heart. They had good structure, and they really made people feel something. I knew at that moment, like a cartoon light bulb going off above my head, this was the magic behind a great TV show, a great movie, a great book. When I went into my director to say, hey, that's a job I want to do, can I get in the story room? He said, you're 19 years old, get back to animating. And I did. And I loved every minute at The Simpsons. But then I got a call from a studio that really nobody knew about. It was a startup in the San Francisco Bay Area called Pixar. And they gave me a call because a couple of my friends I went to school with at Cal Arts said, we're working on a film that we feel that you would be the perfect fit on. I said, I'm working at The Simpsons. I'm not planning to leave. But they said, next time you're in the Bay Area, we'd love to pitch you this idea. So the next time I was in the Bay Area, I came in to Pixar. It was, in a rented out facility by the Chevron refinery in Point Richmond. There was only 80 people there. And I got into a room with 4 people. It was Steve Jobs. It was the director of the film. the writer of the film, and the head of animation. And in 10 minutes, they pitched me an idea for an animated film they wanted to make. Now, it was going to be completely different. It wasn't going to be your traditional Disney animated film. There was going to be no prince or princess, no fairy tale village, no musical numbers like I Want to Be a Part of Your World, or I Wish I Didn't Have a Fin, and I could, walk with humans. And it was going to be animated on a computer. Very Steve Jobs, right? Now, I was moved, but I wasn't going to leave The Simpsons for that until they pitched me the idea for the story about a world of toys and a cowboy toy and a spaceman toy. And I knew at that moment that's why I was there. And I was so moved by the story, I ended up calling my boss of The Simpsons and saying, I'm not coming back. I took the job. Now, the first thing I did when I came in to Pixar was not to immediately go into the story department. I was taught how to animate on a computer. Now, the world at this time in animation was drawing on paper, 2D animation, like I did at The Simpsons, like they had done at the Disney studio for, decades. And I was being taught how to animate on a computer. And I think we all know sometimes new tech can scare you. Well, this was frightening. But I learned how to animate on a computer. And actually, the very first shot I got to do was with these little army men. Now, one of the hardest things to animate is actually a character walking, at least for me, because we see people walk all the time. I had to animate a character walking on a plank. So I actually took my not-so-favored shoes, screwed them to a plank of wood, and hopped and crawled all over the studio at Pixar, filming myself with the only VHS camera we had to get the animation perfect. And then when I would be done animating, I would always wind up in the story department, either asking questions or volunteering to work on the weekend, whether it was coming up with gags, coming up with dialogue, or figuring out some story structure problem. And when Toy Story came out in 1995, people in the industry thought this movie is going to bomb. It's not the traditional Disney film, but it had such a great story that when it came out in 1995 and the new tech, new CG animation that people had really never seen before, Toy Story was the biggest hit of 1995. Made the most money. The audience loved it. Even the critics loved it around the whole world. And then I got moved into the story department at Pixar for 20 years with a very small team of story people figuring out how will we make you laugh and cry with monsters, fish, cars, robots. And whether it is for a Pixar film, a TV show, a big brand, or a small family toy store, the secret ingredient is a story. Whoever tells the best story wins. When it comes to using stories and why stories are so important in business and entertainment and beyond, is because stories have the ability to make plot points or data and statistics memorable, impactful, and personal. When I'm pitching an idea for a film or TV show, I know I'm not going to be grabbing people's attention if I'm just sharing plot points. People, they don't retain that information. There needs to be a story. And when you don't have a story attached to a pitch or presentation you're making, or wanting to just make, effective communication, 10 minutes later, people will only remember 5% of what you said. But there is a way to fix that. It's with inserting some storytelling. Now, when I'm talking about storytelling, I am not talking about you at your company writing a screenplay. Although I imagine you there watching this are secretly working on a screenplay at home. I understand. But when I talk about coming up with a story, I am talking about using all the 5 senses. You can tell a story that's visual. You can tell a story through what you hear, what you taste, what you touch. You can use all the 5 senses to tell a story. I think about when I come into a hotel You know, I enter a hotel, I'm looking around, does it look nice? Does it smell nice? Does it smell like there's a sewage leak? You know, when I meet the host or hostess at the front desk, do they greet me with a hello? Or do they greet me like, oh, great, another guest? When I sign my name for the incidentals, how does the pen feel? All of those things are telling a story. A percentage here, another percentage there, and all of a sudden, just like when you're on a vacation or you go into a hotel, you're telling yourself, this is going to be a wonderful experience or it's going to be miserable. But I got to tell you, of all those ways that you can use storytelling, visual storytelling is number one. And this has been what I have been doing for 30 years, is creating stories that can be told whether the audio is on or off. You look at this Tiffany and Company ad, they're telling a story, it's visual. They're using color, they're using typeface, they're using images. As a director, I know that color evokes emotions. It becomes memorable. I think the first time I figured this out was while I was watching the movie The Shining. And any time the director, Stanley Kubrick, put the color red up, it meant something really horrific was going to happen about 5 seconds later. Color makes us feel something. That color that Tiffany and Company uses, that robin's egg blue, it's not the color of the ocean, it's the color of the sky. Because they want to give you a feeling that's memorable, that connects you to the heavens, the sky. They usually use a flowing white ribbon or something that looks like a cloud. The typeface they use looks elegant and sophisticated. Think about the next time you're putting together a pitch or presentation, your website, you're sharing something. What are the colors you're using? What's the typeface you're using? Are you using Cartoon Sans? Are you using the typeface the IRS uses and you're subtly, you know, making people mad? All of those things add up to tell a story. And number one is the images you use. Tiffany and Company, they usually use images of love and romance because they're just not in the business of just selling jewelry and selling stuff. They're in the business of selling a story and standing out from all of their competitors. When you use story to share information, you're going to give yourself a 65% better chance people are going to remember it in an hour, the day after, or a year later. But I'm already kind of talking about impacting your emotions with color and typeface and images. And stories have the ability to impact us, to make us feel something, to drive us to action. And I can't think of a better Pixar moment and Pixar film that I got to work on that impacted the audience than the opening of the movie Up. Now, the first 10 minutes of the movie Up, there is only visuals and music. There's no characters talking. And if you've seen that film, you know that it impacts your emotions. There is a real science to storytelling, to making people feel something. The release of dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins, whether a director knows it or not, that is what you are doing to your audience. The same thing goes when you're trying to make an effective connection with your audience. You want them to feel something. Now, the opening of the movie Up starts off with the main character, but he's not an old man yet. He's just a little boy. He's 10 years old. He's afraid of adventure, very timid, and he meets a girl who's very adventurous, Ellie. They're just complete opposites, but they become friends. They grow up, they fall in love, they get married, they build a house, and they want to have kids. They want to have a lot of kids. As we see them building the crib and getting the nursery ready, what's happening to us is dopamine is being released. Whenever there's a moment in a story, including a story in business, that has happiness or anticipation, it releases dopamine and it makes us scoot up a little bit forward on our chair to listen because we're interested with what's going to happen. And then the next image in the movie Up, we see them in the hospital. The wife is crying. The doctor is there. And the husband is consoling his wife. And we get it. they're never going to have any kids. And we went from extreme dopamine happiness to now oxytocin sadness. Now, whenever you have a sad moment or a somber moment, you had a really crummy year, your company, don't shy away from sharing that. Because what it does is when you release oxytocin, it makes the audience have empathy for the main characters or the business leader, and it makes them root for you. When oxytocin is released, they want to give you more of their time to listen and actually try to support you, invest in you, help you succeed. And when you have this dopamine and oxytocin juxtaposed back and forth that creates tension and release, people can't stop watching. They're hooked. And we see this couple, even though they can't have kids, the husband gives his wife this book, this adventure journal, with a promise of, we love each other. Let's think of the next chapter of our life. Let's go on a great vacation. Let's go to South America. Let's go to a place called Paradise Falls. We're going to save up money. We're going to go, and we're going to have a wonderful life together. That released dopamine again. And then we see as they're trying to save up the money, they can't. Life happens. They have bills. And every time they almost get enough money for those tickets, they can't. And now they wake up and they're not in their 20s, they're in their 40s. They blink, they're in their 60s. And before they know it, they're 80 years old. But the husband remembers the promise, gets those plane tickets to South America, puts them in a picnic basket, leads his wife up to their favorite little picnic spot on the hill. He's going to give the plane tickets to his wife, and then she collapses. And then the next image we see, they're in the hospital. And then the last image we see is the man at his wife's funeral. And it crushes us. It's such an extreme release of oxytocin that it doesn't make a difference how tough you think you are, you will weep. This is what a great story does. It impacts your emotions through dopamine, oxytocin, and also endorphins. Endorphins are those chemicals that make you laugh, they release anxiety, they make you more creative. And if you've seen a good Pixar film, you always see how we sprinkle through funny gags. Now, the reason why we were able to create movies like this that were not the norm was because we had a great boss. A boss that, didn't necessarily know how to draw or wasn't a screenwriter, but Steve Jobs was a storyteller. And if you look at any one of his pitches, especially the one where he introduced the iPhone for the first time, he used those same principles of dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins, tension and release, to keep the viewer, the audience, captivated. When he introduced the iPhone in San Francisco, he came up on stage, and the first thing he did was he made a little bit of a joke about how hard it was to find parking in San Francisco. Got a light chuckle from the audience, endorphins, reduced anxiety. This is not going to be, mean, angry Steve Jobs from the Apple days. And then he went into his talk, and he said, I have never been more proud in my entire life about any product we've made at Apple than the one I'm going to share with you today. It's a smartphone, and it's going to completely change the world. That was a huge release of dopamine. Everybody in the audience are looking at him. They scoot up on their chair a little. They want to know, what's that thing going to do? And then, like a great storyteller, he takes you down and releases oxytocin. Not at the expense of Apple, but by sharing, we're not the first ones to create a smartphone. You can go out to Radio Shack or your local electronics store, you can pick up a smartphone, and guess what? It's a piece of crap. It's not smart at all. He did that so he could take everyone down before he pops them up and shares the most amazing part of the smartphone, which was, you can go on this little device, you can go on the internet on this. It's going to go in your pocket, and you don't have to go on the internet on a computer if you don't want to. I mean, that just blew people's minds. And taking people from that low to that high, it was like a double type of excitement. And he continued to do this up and down. He shared that those other smartphones out there had a stylus pen, very hard to use. He hated the stylus pen. Then he shared with mine, swipe of your finger, you're going to be able to operate this. He shared how hard it was to install applications on those other devices, that you had to be as smart as like Steve Wozniak or something. And then he introduced to everybody the world of apps. You know what people love in a great pitch or presentation? Is not dopamine from beginning to end. That's exhausting. That's like when you're doom scrolling at night on Instagram and you just feel so exhausted afterwards, because it's dopamine, dopamine, dopamine. Or if you're just depressed all day, or you share all the depressing news around your company, then that's not good. That just releases all oxytocin and leaves people, bummed out. A great story is like a roller coaster ride. There are highs and lows. That's what keeps people interested. Now, even though I am totally aware how to impact people's emotions with a great story, it doesn't mean I'm immune to it. Just like most of us are not immune to this. We buy things, we take our vacations, we decide who we want to, date and get married to because someone impacted our emotions. For example, when I was working on the movie Cars, we were working so hard on that film that almost all my lunches were brought to me at work. And then, when I finally got to go out one day to take a walk and get my own lunch outside, I passed by a Jeep dealership. Now, I had no plans to buy a Jeep that day, but the images on the side of that Jeep dealership, they look so cool. There's like Jeeps climbing mountains and crashing through rivers, and I was so moved, I decided I'm going in. And when I went in, there's, the music was like epic. It was like the music from the movie Cars, And then the Jeep dealer came over to me. And he asked me if I owned a Jeep. I said no. And he proceeded to tell me that he owns a Jeep. He takes it off-roading every other weekend. He puts in his Raiders of the Lost Ark soundtrack, and he is Indiana Jones. Now, what was happening to me at that moment is called neurocoupling. It's when someone shares an experience, a story, and you imagine yourself in that experience. So now I am Indiana Jones with the fedora and the leather coat and the whip, and I'm in that Jeep climbing mountains and crashing through rivers. And then I did the thing my parents told me never to do. I ended up buying a brand new car on the showroom floor. When I drove it off the lot, it was worth 20% less. And as I'm driving the car, I'm realizing I'm married, I have kids. I just bought the #1 rollover vehicle in the United States. What the heck did I just do? It's got the worst gas mileage after the Hummer. My wife drives a Prius. This is how we make decisions in life. Not because of logic. We make decisions because it feels good. There was a story told. We want to be a part of that story. Later on, we will rationalize it. Thank God I have not rolled my Jeep. I'm on my 3rd Jeep now. So we will rationalize things. But the first thing that motivates you to want to connect with someone, to buy something, to be a part of a brand story, is the story itself. And the other reason why stories are so meaningful is because they're personal. Just like that Jeep dealer shared with me his Jeep story, his experience, you guys can do the same thing. You can share your career path stories. You can share your experiences with that product. You can share testimonials of how other people's company and lives have been changed because of you and what you have to offer. And when I think about how I found people in my life that I trust with my car, my Jeep, my children, my money, I didn't meet them online. I usually met them on the sidelines of a sporting event. My kid is playing soccer or baseball, and I'm talking with the other parents. And what always comes up is, what do you do for a living? You can make a connection, an authentic, effective connection with people through the stories you tell that impact their emotions, that are memorable, and make personal connections. And the one thing that all these stories have in common, whether it's Toy Story or The Simpsons or a great book, or you sharing the company's story or the story around a product, there's always a hero, a goal, a set of obstacles, and a change. You know, when you share your career path story, you're going to be the hero. When you end up sharing an experience of how you have inspired someone's life through what you've provided with them, they're going to be the hero. The customer, the client, your audience. And there's always a goal in a great story with a set of obstacles and a change. These are the necessary 4 things you need in a great story. As a director, as a writer, as a storyteller, there are always a couple of things I keep going back to again and again over the last 30 years to make sure my stories are being effective. And these are not just for business, these work not just for entertainment, this is for business as well. And the number one is you got to have a great hook. You know, sometimes we call it our, elevator pitch. You know, at Pixar we would call it our controlling idea. But I think we can all relate that when we're sharing an idea, we've got to do it in a clear and concise way to be able to start the story conversation. And the truth is that people only have an attention span of about 8 seconds when we are wanting to share with them a story. So how do you get people's attention with an 8-second hook? From my experience, you need to have something that's either unusual, unexpected, or land people in an action or conflict. You don't want to do these all at once, okay? You'll make someone explode. Just use one. Unusual is what is the ordinary world around your product or a certain, world in your film, and how could it be different? Unexpected is shock value, and then action conflict is when you lead right into a story that, just pulls people into an action or there's an emotional moment. At Pixar, we would do this all the time. The Incredibles, the 8-second hook was, what if superheroes were banned from saving people? It's unusual because everybody knows superheroes save people. Why would they be banned? It's short and sweet and makes people go, so why would they be banned? And then I can go into the rest of the story. Unexpected, shock value. What if a rat wanted to be a French chef? That's unexpected, right? I worked on that film for 2 years. I had doubts this would even work. But it was so unexpected that people just couldn't stop watching. But when you think about how to make a clear and concise 8-second hook, it's not about how many words you use, it's about how few words you use. Like, what if you had an everyday AI companion? It just gets to the point. And once you hook people, now you can change them. And I think we know one of the hardest things to do, whether you've got an audience sitting in a movie theater who are very skeptical, or you have a very skeptical audience you're making a pitch to, is to change people. To change people is difficult. People are very comfortable in their ways. They don't usually want to switch from one brand to another. They, it's hard to convince them that, love does exist, when you're sharing with them a film. But the best way to change people is by sharing with them stories of how other people were transformed, how they were changed. When you have a movie, a TV show, a book, or a presentation where no one changes, it's not going to be memorable. Characters that learn to have courage, like Harry Potter, going from timid to being brave. Or characters that learn to be more caring, like Wednesday Addams, going from being kind of an introvert to pushing herself and making friends. Those stories can inspire us. If you don't believe me and you're skeptical, just think of a time where, you went through a really awful heartbreak. You felt like love doesn't exist out there for me. And then you accidentally watched a romantic comedy. And afterwards, you were on a dating app going, maybe I'll try again. Stories can inspire us to take chances, to be more courageous, be more caring. But stories also teach us lessons, cautionary tales. They teach us, don't make the same mistake that this other company or other person made by not adapting, not innovating, or, like Walter White in Breaking Bad, making meth for a living. Not a good idea. And also, not letting your greed for money become your main goal in life. This was a cautionary tale TV show that was great, but did not have a happy ending. I don't want to blow it for anybody, but it was a cautionary tale. These were some of the first stories we were ever told as kids to teach us, don't lie, don't steal, don't talk to strangers, like Pinocchio or Hansel and Gretel. But when you do use these stories as metaphors, analogies to inspire people, you got to make sure you're using the right story for the right audience. I'm not going to share with my 10-year-old daughter that, let's watch Breaking Bad because you're being a little greedy lately, right? You got to know who is your audience. Fortunately, if you're speaking to one person, you can pretty much stalk them online and, find out if they, where they live, if they like sports, do they hate kids, do they like cats? And then you can start to formulate a pitch that will fit them. But what if you have to connect with the whole world? There is an art to that. Pixar had the ability of creating stories that connected with every gender, every culture, every age around the whole world. How did we do that? Well, we used universal themes in storytelling. For example, Ratatouille. People don't like Ratatouille because they're just so excited about, rats from, alleys touching food. No, they like that movie because it's about a character who wants to do the impossible. They want to be a French chef, and everybody in their life is saying, no, you are a rat. You take, you don't make. We can relate because all of us have had a moment in our life where we wanted to do something that was impossible. We had a dream to do something that somebody in our life said you can't do because of your age, your gender, your culture. My dad wanting to be a Disney animator. You see, there are universal themes in storytelling that we can use to make connections with every single person. The desire of love, the desire for safety, the desire to have the freedom to choose your own fate, like in Ratatouille. Every single person around the world desires love and safety and freedom. When you weave these into even software or product or whatever widget, you will make a more authentic connection with people. When I think about the movie WALL-E, I love that film. Great sci-fi film, great message about the environment. But really, it's a love story. It's the last robot on Earth that wants to fall in love, and that's why it captured everybody. When you think of Finding Nemo, it's about a father who wants to keep his only child safe. And then Ratatouille, Turning Red, the movie Brave, is the desire for freedom, to choose your own fate. But on the other side of that coin for universal themes, there's the fear of failure, the fear of abandonment, the fear of not belonging. Toy Story 1, 2, 3, 4, they're all about Woody's fear of abandonment. That's why those films worked so well for a trilogy, or even more than a trilogy, is because there was always a character arc that we could relate to. So next time you're putting together a pitch or presentation trying to connect with your audience, try to weave in these universal themes because you are guaranteed to connect with everybody. And make these stories, these pitches, authentic. People appreciate it when you speak from your heart. Try to find moments in your life that you can use as metaphors, experiences, when you share your career path story. Because when you're authentic, people can see it, they can feel it. Don't try to be clever and do what the other companies are doing. That's just going to make you blend in. Be vulnerable and honest. You're going to stand out. You're going to make a connection. Those Pixar films, that's what we did. When we were working on Monsters, Inc., which was the second film I worked on, At that time, most of us were having our first children. And we loved our jobs. We were workaholics, I won't lie. And then all of a sudden, when we had a kid, we had to figure out, how do we juggle our full-time successful job and a kid? And that really was what inspired Monsters, Inc. It was a #1 scarer, Sully, who all of a sudden a kid came into his life. He didn't know what to do, but then he ended up falling in love with the kid and it changed him. We used these personal experiences, disguised them with lovable characters like monsters, robots, and fish, to be able to make the stories authentic. You know, when those kids got older, that's why we made Finding Nemo. We were afraid what was going to happen to our kids as they get older. And then when they became teenagers, we had no idea what was going on in their heads anymore, who was controlling their thoughts, and that was what inspired Inside Out. You know, when you're using storytelling to make these authentic connections with people, don't share your mission statement, your purpose statement. Let people feel it. I know that for me, I never want to be stating the theme in our movies. Like in Finding Nemo, what if we would have said, you know, at some point, being overprotective won't lead your loved ones to a better life, letting them go will. You would have all just shook your head and went, why did you do that? When you state the theme to people around your company, it's kind of disrespecting them. You want to not make them feel that they're not smart enough to be able to put the pieces together. You do want to share your theme though, but you want to do it in a way that's more authentic. Like in Finding Nemo, when we did state the theme, we said it in a way that felt more natural. Like when Dory the bluefish said to Nemo's dad, if you never let anything happen to Nemo, nothing will ever happen to him. And that just kind of hits your heart. It feels real. Last thing, there is a structure to storytelling that I did not invent, that Pixar did not invent, that's been going on for thousands of years. Every culture around the world has been telling stories with a beginning, a middle, and an end. With a hero or set of heroes that go on a journey and go through this setup, build, and a payoff. Whether it's 90 minutes or 90 seconds, next time you share a story, you're going to want to use that same structure. Why do we tell stories like this? It's simply because everybody around the whole world experiences a beginning of the day, a middle of the day, and an end of the day. Our course of our life is a beginning, a middle, and an end. And every day, there's little stories. Going to the dentist, getting rear-ended, you know, in your car, dropping the kids off. They all are mini stories. Sometimes you're the hero on that journey. Sometimes you're sharing a story of somebody else's experience. But there's always a hero going on a journey. You know, the next time you got to do a pitch or presentation, get people excited about an idea, think of it like a storyteller. The beginning, you're setting up the ordinary world, the problem. This is what everybody else does in my industry. And it's not perfect. But then you share that you have an idea on how to solve it. This is what we do when we create stories all the time. It starts off in the ordinary world of the character and it's broken, but there is an idea of how it's going to get fixed. When you get to the middle of the story, this is when we go through all the highs and lows, all the reversals, you know, all of the good stuff and the bad stuff. That's when you are sharing all the different ways you've tried to improve that industry you're in, the way you do things. And don't shy away from sharing all of the mistakes that were made along the way. Something was too big, it was too expensive, it wasn't fast enough, but you figured out a way to fix it and make it better. You know, people love to hear the successes and the failures when it comes to entertainment or business, because we love to see heroes and stories or leaders never quit, that they keep fighting, they keep creating, and they figure out the solution to get to the end. which is the success. Here is that thing that is going to improve your life. It's going to improve your business. It's going to improve the world of that character in that film. And you know the end has always got to be good. People don't start reading a book to get to the middle or start watching a movie to get to the middle unless they're bored. People want to get to the end. And the end of the story has got to be great. It's got to leave people with a payoff that makes them realize, I could be doing things better. I could be more courageous. I could be more caring. I could be more innovative. I could adapt. It gives people the confidence that they can change. It inspires them. And truly, after you make a pitch or presentation, you share with people, your audience, how you can change their life. They're not going to remember the price points. They're not going to remember the data and the statistics. They're going to remember the story you told. And in the end, whoever tells the best story wins. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew.
That
was wonderful.
My pleasure.
That made me want to go back to my desk and redo a lot of the stuff I've done so far, but more importantly, it wanted me to do more.
Oh, good, good.
That was really inspiring. You know, I came here to the Bay Area 5 years ago with my family, and I was so... Now I'm telling you a story. I shouldn't do this after the story.
No, this is good. I love stories.
but living here in the East Bay, I figured out that Pixar is only 10 minutes away. And it so happened, one of the parents in my daughter's class worked at Pixar.
Okay.
He's also a great guy, and he invited me to a screening. So I
Sweet.
went to the screening of Onwards.
I like that film. I worked on that film.
I know you did. It raised so much emotions in a young father. So that was great. And I also got so many thoughts and ideas. We're a software company, right? We help people with the tools they need to collaborate and to create those stories. We're also very focused on single source of truth, reusability, scalability of content. And obviously this is for digital content as we've been talking about. One thing that I was thinking, listening to your talk, how can you take this art of storytelling into a business setting where you both have the macro of telling the overall story as a company, but also how you can motivate the teams who are doing more of an isolated task and maybe telling an isolated story, but they want to do it in the holistic context of the company. What advice can we give them on how to think?
Well, it's a good question. And, you know, when you think of the Disney company, you know, when I would be working on Pixar films, we're focused on one movie. But the Disney company, you know, pretty much owns the whole world, right?
Exactly.
They've got parks and they've got, you know, cruise ships. And so they've got a big story, but then little stories. And even when I would come in and work with a company like Adidas on their branding and telling their story, there's so many different, you know, branches to the Adidas company or Adidas. But you still want to be thinking that there's one overall theme for the entire story. For the entire company. When I think of Disney, their overall theme is entertainment. Whether they're entertaining adults or kids on a ship or in a park or in a theater, it's entertainment. For Adidas, it's what I worked with them on was it's calling all creators. Whether you're creative on the basketball court or you're creative, you know, hitting into school totally dressed in all your Adidas clothing. So when I coach people on this, I say the first thing you want to do is figure out what is the overarching theme of your entire company. Let's say, for example, you sell life insurance. Well, the theme is being prepared, right? Let's say you're in data and security. Well, then it's, you know, I would say, you know, something like, you know, thinking about the unknown and, you know, thinking about how to prepare for the unknown. So I'm always asking people, what is the big theme first? You know what the word I was thinking of? It's resilience. That's the word I was thinking of.
Wonderful
okay,
word.
That's the one for data and security, right? Resilience. It's but I always want to know the theme, the big theme for the company, and then when you share those smaller stories,
yes,
to your peers, or you want to connect with an individual client, you know, you still want to work in that theme of resilience or creativity, but then you also have to think, what's the new theme?
Yeah.
Am I inspiring my team to be more innovative or adapting or teamwork? But like every great story, whether it's a movie, a book, a TV show, or like this, it always starts with a theme. What is the overall takeaway message you want people to have at the end of it?
And you want that theme to be holistic about the
That's going to be
around
the North Star for you coming up with what story am I going to share that has those correct themes.
That's exactly. And then I picture when you have that story for a company that some people would be involved in making, and then for a team sitting making a landing page for a product launch like Sanity Create that we launched today. This storytelling concept is so applicable also to that, to raise emotions when people are looking. I think we're doing some of the things that you're talking about
good.
naturally, but it puts it into a very beautiful system. And you talk about authenticity. That's another wonderful word. And there's maybe too little of it in this word. How do you then think about the entry of artificial intelligence, which could be huge help, but it could also take away some of that authenticity? We're launching a product today where AI can work seamlessly with you as a content creator.
Yes.
But you're in control. What are you afraid of this? Do you see it as huge opportunities? How are you thinking?
I'm probably, I mean, I think for all of us, let me just say, for a lot of us, we're excited about this, but also the verdict is out still. We don't know if this is going to create some robot apocalypse or something, right? Just kidding. But I think about when I was working at The Simpsons, we're all animating on paper, a pencil, paper, a light box underneath you. I was animating the same way they were animating on Snow White. Coming to Pixar, I'm animating on a computer. Most people in the entertainment industry either totally doubted this would work or they were hating me because they felt that Toy Story was going to kill the animation industry. In 1995, I think there was maybe 25 animated movies around the world that came out. Now, every year, there's like 250.
It's fantastic.
It didn't kill the industry. It actually made it possible for us to do things you could have never done on Snow White.
Yes, for sure.
So when I think about AI, I don't see it as something that's going to replace great stories and great ideas. I see it's going to be something that's going to enhance it.
Yeah.
I think about, just like, my favorite film, Star Wars.
That is still your favorite film?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Which one of them?
Well, I would say that's difficult, but Empire Strikes Back. But Star Wars was my first one, right?
Yeah.
But you got Luke Skywalker, he's got R2-D2 behind him, and it's his little co-pilot. And when Luke needs help, he asks his co-pilot.
Yeah.
That's what AI is going to be like.
Yeah.
It's
a good analogy.
A co-pilot, a muse. It's going to help us when we're stuck, but nothing beats a human touch.
No.
Nothing beats the authentic, real person that can help you. And I think that just like any kind of new technology, it's a little scary. It's going to probably get used by everybody.
Yep.
And, the challenge is we don't all want to be the same. And people, I think, are going to want to embrace the combination of new AI, but with a real person still.
Yeah, totally. I think all changes in society that are really profound, they take longer time than we think.
They
especially
do.
here, we need to learn how to work with these tools, and now we released it to our whole community, the Sanity Create, so they could learn. And I'm really excited to see how they would use this to create better storytelling and keep the authenticity.
Yeah, I'm excited. It sounds really great, and like I said, new things can scare us, but as we see, stories always help us to be able to get past that fear, to say, this can be a part of my life. I can be a part of this story.
Exactly. We have to be unafraid. Well, this was amazing. Thank you again so much for
pleasure,
taking
man.
the time and sharing and inspiring us. And to everyone you there still watching us, thank you for Thank you for being so generous of your time. I hope you're as inspired as me. I hope you also want to run back to your, well, you're already in front of your computer. I hope you want to continue sitting in front of your computer, open Sanity Create, take all the inspiration from Matthew, and start creating. And do it as part of the content fabric. And give us feedback. Let us know how it goes. Thank you for the whole team for arranging this. Thank you again to Matthew.
My pleasure.
It was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
See you soon.